morning, you guys. Welcome to the show. This is the ARROYO Show. I'm Brandon Arroyo. If it's your first time here, please give it a thumbs up and a subscribe. What a guest we have for you today. You can see him on a fantastic show that's airing right now called Yellowstone. Please give it up for DENIM Richards. How you doing, brother?
Hello. How are you doing? Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm excited to chat with you a little bit here. And what a day, man. I mean, coming up this weekend, another episode of Yellowstone. You're mid-season right now. When you're in a show that's episodic and airing like this, do you kind of like have that anxious look forward to each week when that debuts? Do you watch it during the debut, or do you wait until maybe like the next day?
I think it really depends. I think especially seasons 1 and 2, there was so much. I was so anxious every single time, an episode would come up, and but the really interesting thing is, so I will try to watch them at whatever time. Sometimes there's a live tweet session that's going on, so I'll watch it at the 6 p.m. time that it airs on the East Coast, as opposed to the 9 p.m. time that would air on the West Coast. And then there's other times where it's maybe I don't watch it the exact day, but I'll watch it the next day. But honestly, the thing that's really awesome now is because we've been doing the show for so long, it's really kind of cool just to be able to see the work that your other friends, your other coworkers are doing when they're not with you, because so much of us oftentimes have the same schedules. And then when we kind of start separating throughout the season and we're reading these scenes, we don't actually get to see what it looks like. So it's kind of cool to sit back and be like, oh, he couldn't go with us on this biking trip that we were taking because he was shooting this scene and this is what it was like. So it's kind of just a different way of looking at it, as opposed to just oh my gosh, I just want to go and watch the show. It's just really cool to get to see the work that your friends are doing.
Episode 5 of Yellowstone is set to debut this Sunday, July the 19th. The reason for Beth and Jamie's toxic relationship is finally revealed. The episode, called Cowboys and Dreamers, airing Sunday on Paramount Network in Yellowstone. Episode 5, check your local listings for a start time. All right, on the line right now, DENIM Richards portrays the role of Colby. When you're in a role where you are in it for several seasons and it kind of develops, how does that differ from a role where perhaps you're in a film or something where you only portray it that one time? I feel like you almost would get to sink your teeth into this one a little bit deeper. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think it's very accurate. I think, when you're doing film, for instance, it's whatever you put on the screen in that moment is what's going to be there. And there's no real opportunity to kind of go back in another season, if you will, unless you're doing multiple spinoffs or whatever. And so the cool thing about, Yellowstone, because like you said, being on it for multiple seasons, you really do get to as you kind of grow as a man and grow as a human being through your experiences, your character also gets to grow. And so you start just to take certain things that you've had in your everyday life and start to slowly inject them into the character. And it really is awesome to be able to go back season after season and start this kind of slow progression of just coming into yourself, right? I think, and that's, again, art imitates life and vice versa. And that's also a testament to the writing of Yellowstone by Taylor Sheridan, because he's created these characters to where it's you really get to get invested with them and see them throughout season after season, to kind of see their progression, to really kind of get inside. And so, for me, with playing Colby, you start to now, getting into the season 3, you really get to start seeing him take on his own personality outside of the bunkhouse, have kind of his own thought process outside of what's going on in the bunkhouse as well. So it really is a really fantastic opportunity to be able to start injecting those things that you kind of feel in your everyday life, and also be able to project that a little bit on the screen as well.
So Colby, as you just mentioned, now season 3, when you look back at the time that you spent with this character, what are your thoughts on Colby from, his development and his growth over the last couple? I mean, we're now going to be in episode 28, I think, of Colby. So what's your thoughts on his development?
It's fun. I think it's the thing where, one of the great things I love about this show is because it's such a perfect kind of way for Colby, especially, of life, right? You never know what you're going to be given, what opportunities you're going to have. And so you just try to make the most out of every single opportunity. And so it's in season 1, you're kind of there's so many things that are going on, and Colby's there, and he's a little bit quieter, but I always tried to make him interesting. He's always doing something. And so you just start to create these things. And then as, the episodes go on, you get more to do and you're doing more things. And so it's really, really kind of nice because you get to see him just kind of come into a full person, a full character, outside of just kind of this personality that pops up and says something funny and then goes away. Like, you start to see this development as a different storyline. And so I think that this is also just it was a great like life lesson and a learning lesson of patience. You know, you have to be very, very patient, but you also have to understand that anything that you're given, especially when it has to do with the entertainment industry, you really have to make it your own and develop it in your own way. And, you know, hope that whatever it is that you're doing will be seen. And now going into a season 3 where we're starting to have to kind of go off and have his own storyline, you know, with Teeter and doing all these things, you're really getting to see this development from the way it started in season 1. And now he's kind of taking on legs of his own, where he's now kind of becoming more responsible for certain things. Whereas beforehand, you would always kind of have your responsibility to be part of the group activities. So you're really starting to see this character start to be set apart in some of these different ways, which is really, really awesome. And as an artist, it's really, really cool because, you know, when you're given more responsibility, that means that they're also showing that, that there's more trust in you as well. And that's really, really awesome as an artist as well.
He is Denim Richards. You can see him portraying the role of Colby right now on Yellowstone. Be sure to check your local listings to see when you can check that out. The new episode's coming out this week. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about some of your past work, Good Trouble. We loved that show as well. For one last question on Yellowstone, though, I love to hear the booking moment story. Do you remember when you got the call to say that you were officially going to be Colby on Yellowstone? Or who you were with? Who was the first person you told what you felt?
Yeah, so I was actually I was doing a show at the time. I was doing this one-man, well, it wasn't a one-man show, but it was a group show of about 7 men, and it was about we would sing and kind of preach the gospel, if you will, but through entertainment. And I was sitting with 2 of the other men. We were at I think we were having like Mexican food somewhere in like Santa Monica, and I was just like sitting around. I was getting ready to go in. I was getting ready to like go in with them. And I was sitting in my car at the meter, just hanging there. And then, you know, my manager called me, and, you know, I had gone in, you know, I had the producer session and all these other things, and I just didn't hear anything for like 3 weeks, I think it was. And like, it's so terrible because like, whenever you have a producer session, you're so close. But you know, with a pilot and all these other things, like, it's such a new situation. But then when you know Kevin Costner's on it, it's like all this thing. And so I was just sitting in my car, getting ready to get out and put money in the meter. And then my manager's like, oh my gosh, he's screaming on the phone. I was like, okay, before you scream, tell me what it is that you're screaming about. And then she told me, and it was just like, what it was, honestly, it was like, I love the art in so many different fashions of it. And so it was just a beautiful thing to finally be able to be on a show in the beginning of the stages of the show, and see the fact that there were so many people that had already invested in the show, the John Linsons, the Taylor Sheridans, obviously the Kevin Costners, and for it to be like the flagship show for Paramount Network, which was also a new network. So it was like, for me, it was like coming into the situation from the beginning with all of these phenomenal people that are already established. I was like, I've gained like 20 years of artistic experience just by being a part of the show. But man, it was so amazing and so beautiful. I remember like, I was sitting there and I was like, you're not going to cry. You're not going to, but on the inside, you'll cry. And then, you know, of course, like, you know, we went out and I was like, you know what, guys, dinner and everything is on me tonight. Like, I got it. You know what I mean? But it's just, you know, it's just such a cool thing. And it's just something that every artist dreams about, getting that call. And as you go up from your co-stars and you book something and, you know, your first commercials, you do the same thing. Like, you still have that feeling because you understand how difficult the business is and how difficult the art, you know, is, because it's an industry and it's entertainment and it's a business. And so when you get looked at and, you know, and seen, it's still, even to this day, as I'm reminiscing about it, it really is a beautiful thing.
He is Denim Richards, and honestly, your career has had a lot of the shows that I grew up just loving. So good luck, Charlie, you had a moment on. The New Edition story you were a part of. I want to dive into, though, Good Trouble. So 6 episodes as Elijah. That was another sort of experience of doing an episodic. Do you think, what were you able to take from that experience of having that reoccurring character of Elijah that you were able to bring into the character of Colby, maybe even just from the experience of having that episodic part under your belt? Yeah, I think, well, you know, so before I had booked Good Trouble, I think I had done 2 seasons of Yellowstone or whatever up until that point.
And so, you know, I think really what it was is like because of the training that I've gotten from Yellowstone, like I said, with just understanding the episodic ways and understanding, and sometimes it's like you might be in an episode, you might not. I've been very blessed. I think I've been in all of them, but 2 of the episodes in Yellowstone. But you start to just, so going into Good Trouble, I have personally never even heard of the show. It was like I was gone. I had taken one of my best friends had got married in India. And so I had gone to India, and then I was like, I stopped in Dubai for like 5 days. And I was just like at the airport or at the mall in Dubai, and I saw this poster for Good Trouble. It was like, you know, talking about the getting ready to do season 2. And I was like, oh, that looks like those are the girls that had done the Fosters. And then just like never like thought about it again. And then I get back on the plane and come back to the US, and like a month later, I'm auditioning for the show. So it's just funny how it's like you start seeing this like kind of pre-programmed things. But, you know, the thing is for me was, you know, it was a character and it was a role that I never really imagined I would ever do in my career. I just never had pictured it. For the last like 3.5 years, I've been doing like cowboy stuff. Even the film that I co-star in, was playing a cowboy. You know, so I was really in this very different rugged type of terrain, if you will. And so this was also an opportunity just for myself to also see what it's like to do something different. I was very, very fortunate that the great people at Freeform, you know, allowed me to come in. And the great thing about the cast there on Good Trouble and the creators, the writers, is it's like they've been together for years, right? They had done the Fosters. They've been together for like 7 seasons of the Fosters and then another year of Good Trouble. So it's like there's such a tight-knit family, but to be able to be welcomed in, and so they were so acquiescent and so beautiful and warm in their welcoming of me. So it really made it really, really easy. But then also because of the kind of understanding of the way that Yellowstone worked, you just understand how to stay in that pocket. You know what I mean? You read, you don't try to make too much of it. You just try to go with it. And so that's all I tried to do with the character. And, you know, I'm glad that so many people gravitated towards it. And it's really funny because I had no idea how the audience was going to respond to an Elijah, you know, and I just play him however I wanted to play him. And then we'll just let the audience kind of make their own decisions. And it's really, really funny to see the fans' response from it because it's like they still have a really hard time separating Denim Richards, the man, from Elijah, the character. And so every once in a while, they're like, I always knew that you were up to no good and didn't mean anything. I was like, wait. I was like, but they'll never tell you it's like that they're talking about Elijah for good. They'll just like inbox you something. You're like, but what did I do? Like, but what did I do? I thought I was a good person. So it's really, you know, it's really, really kind of cool. And, you know, again, it's a completely different demographic, and, you know, other than Yellowstone. So it's kind of nice to be able to be in these kind of different demographics and see what those responses are, but then to also kind of be totally different characters is really awesome.
All right, so we're going to try and not take up too much of your time here today. We really appreciate you giving us a little bit of it today. I do want to talk about how you first got into acting, though. When did you first know that this was something that you wanted to pursue? Was there any one moment that stands out or any person that influenced you when you were younger?
Well, you know, so I tell this story. So, you know, when I was in kindergarten, you know, everybody has like those really bad plays that they all have to be a part of, you know, when they're in school. And so the school that I went to, we would do these things called school family, where like the K through 8th grade, every Friday they would put on a play, and the teachers and the principals and the parents of the kids that were available would come and watch the plays, right? And so I was in kindergarten, and it was like, okay, so which it was probably like we rehearsed one time, but in my head throughout the years, I'm like, we rehearsed for months, you know, and it's like, no, you didn't do that. And
Spielberg showed up. He was giving us notes.
Yeah. George Lucas was like, all right, the way that we're going to shoot this, we're going to, you know, but, you know, so it was like, I was standing there like, okay, you're going to wear this sign, and then you walk to the front of the stage and you just stand there. Like, that's the standard of what you're in kindergarten. There's nothing else to do. And so I was like, okay. And so on the day, and I say on the day, so on Friday when we're getting ready to do this, I see like the friends and the family. This is what I was thinking at 5 years old. Look at all my fans. There's, you know, the friends and the family are all showing up, the kids in the school. And so I was like, I can't just put this sign on and walk to the front of the stage and stand there. Like, that's not what the people came to see. And so, you know, you just kind of get there and you get really excited. I'm moving around, being total distraction. So then after that, the teachers and the principals of the school said, look, we have this annual assembly that's coming up. There's going to be like, you know, several hundred people there. And we want to know if your son would want to sing, you know, for this assembly. And so they're like, yeah, he probably does want to do that. And I was like, yeah, because first of all, part of the story that I never tell, it was an added bonus because I was also told I would be pulled out of class to go to like music class, like lessons, stuff like that. And I was like, anytime, sorry.
That's all right.
Anytime that I get to get pulled out of class to go do something artistic, sign me up.
What more could you want?
Like this is why we go to school. So finally, it's like it was on the day, and I had a little tuxedo on, and I get walked up to the front for this annual assembly, and I start singing this song, and I just saw the faces of everybody, and I was like, I love the feeling of impacting them in such a positive way with the smiles, and I was like, I always want to do this, and so ever since then, I would just every time in class, I'm not paying attention, I'm not doing anything. Like, you got to do this. I was like, I'm going to be an artist. And they're like, okay, and I'm going to be an astronaut. Anyways, move on. But it's like, you know, in hindsight, again, it's just these things where I always feel like if you really believe in yourself and you really kind of follow, you know, the path of things that have been set on you, then really great things can happen. I've been very, very blessed and fortunate to be sitting here and talking about the things I was wanting to do at 5 years old that I've now been able to actually do as a professional. Is really, really awesome.
He is Denim Richards. Denim, as we begin to wind down here, we have what's called the Final Five. They are your who, what, when, and which of where you are right now. The first question is, who do you speak with the most right now?
Probably my pops. I talk to him often. We're always sending text messages back and forth, just keeping up with what everything's going on in the world and in life in general. So, you know, it's a really cool thing because, you know, he's an anchor for me as well. And so it's nice to be able to have somebody, you know, especially during these kind of very interesting times, to just kind of lean on, but also give you a sense of funny where we can laugh about things. So that's who I probably speak to the most.
What item other than your phone do you have on you each day?
Oh, man. I mean, it's so boring. My headphones or my dog's leash. I just got a German Shepherd.
Oh.
And so I'm taking him out like 5 or 6 times a day because he's like a horse. So probably more than anything, I have his leash in my hand.
When did you know that you wanted to do this full time, or that you were able to actually do this full time? A lot of people want to. When did you know you could do this?
I think there was a point where I was doing background, and I was like, that was one of the things. And I remember after a while, I got fired from like the major casting service, so it was like, okay, so I was a waiter, just like most people. I was a waiter beforehand, and then I started getting into background after I was like done doing the theater thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take this background thing seriously. So I quit my waiting job to go into the background to do this. I was like, I'm gonna just do background thing, and I want to get on all these other shows and X, Y, and Z. And then I got fired from the casting, from the background casting thing. And then I was like, didn't have anything, and I was like, okay, Denim, we only have 1 or 2 options here. You're either gonna go back to being a waiter, which I was like, I'm not going to do, or we're gonna just figure this thing out. So I had a lot of poor years, but I was like, I'm only going to do this. Like, you know, like justice be served, I'm going to do this. So I think it would say like the moment that I had gotten fired from everything else, this is what I had.
For those that are unfamiliar, background can be long days too. Like, it's an amazing experience doing background, and you do get to be a part of the set. But I remember I did background for a little bit, and there was a day where we were up in the valley. It was about 110 degrees, and I had a full police officer's outfit on, but I wasn't a main character, so they just left me in the sun the whole day. We didn't get those breaks. Yeah. Do you have any background roles that stand out to you?
Oh my goodness gracious! Where do we even start? Just throw darts at them. You know, it's really funny as an artist. So like, part of doing the background thing was then also like you're always taking. So I am not old by the standard, but I've been doing this for a while. So I was like one of those people that was also like taking weird jobs off of Craigslist or whatever. It'd be like, oh, we're gonna shoot this music video in some pool somewhere, and it's like, you know, we'll pay you $50 in cash at the end of the shoot, and it's 14 hours or whatever, where you guys just have to be there. And it's like, you just take the job because you're like, oh, it's going to be on camera. But yet you still have to audition. Super weird. But I would say I've had a couple. I think one, and I mean, this is what it is. So there was one show where it was like, I always hated doing like the cattle call ones. Like if you ever did something for like Disney or any of those other ones, it would be usually like, it's a school. So there'd be like 25 or 30 background people, but they're ones that are kind of continuously there. So you kind of build a rapport. You absolutely despise the ones where it's like, you guys are all going to be concert goers. Yep. And there's like thousands of you there. So there was this one, we were doing a season finale of this show, and there was going to be like 1,200 something of us there. And so what we were doing is we were shooting in an aquarium because that was the only place they had a place that was like an amphitheater big enough. And I was like, okay, we have to get there. It's going to be an all-night thing, and you're just going to sit there. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. And so I went and like got my paper and like got signed in. And I was like, I'm going to go sit in my car. And I just went. They assigned me like a chair. They're like, okay, and they marched us all up there. Right. And we're like all the way at the top of the thing. I'm like, no one's going to see us. Like, this is ridiculous. And so I was like, can I go to the bathroom? And they're like, yeah. And I just went sat in my car for like 8 hours. I remember like calling my mom and I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this anymore. This is so stupid. And then like a year and a half later, I got fired because I wasn't on the right stage that they wanted me to be on. Yep. So I have so many, but again, like you said, I originally got into it because I wanted to get the feeling of all these different sets. Which you do. Go to this set and that set, you know. So you do get that. I think you just have to be very careful about not falling into the trap of it being like, I want to do this forever. I just never had that personality because half the time I was like, do what they're doing though, but I can do that. You know, and so I think it was all kind of just a blessing that the Most High was like, okay, it's time for you to move on. And because you won't do it, we'll just fire you and you'll figure it out.
Well, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it definitely opened you up to a whole new chapter, which is great.
Absolutely.
Where is your dream vacation?
Man, my dream vacation. Honestly, there's many coasts in West Africa. A lot of places in Senegal, a lot of places obviously in Accra, Ghana. And so I really have this whole thing. Hopefully, whenever the world decides that it can do anything that somewhat semblances real life again, you know, so because otherwise this will just only be a dream. So, you know, the plan is to be able to kind of travel the coast of, you know, West Africa and be able to eat the mangoes and to see these beaches and all that. And obviously I have a lot of historical ties to the continent in so many different ways. So for me, a dream vacation is also an educational and edifying vacation all at the same time. So I would say definitely like getting back to the continent of Africa and studying it and being able to be amongst those people is really a dream.
And then final question for you. Which song is your go-to for karaoke?
Oh, that's a good one. Wow.
We only ask the hard-hitting questions here on this show.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have to sit there and like, I got to write a book about this. I think my go-to one was probably be, I used to sing On the Wings of Love by Jeffrey Osborne. I think that's his name now. I don't even remember. It's been so long. I used to sing that song at nauseum. But here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate karaoke because I was a classically trained vocalist. And so it drove me crazy because as I was growing up, my music teacher also like always used to say, you don't have to listen to bad singing and you don't have to listen to bad music. And like when you're training in opera, that's like, it's so strict and it's so stringent. And so then when people be like, yo, like, I know you sing, let's go sing karaoke. And I was like, I will not. I absolutely will not get up there. And it's always weird because then people are like drinking and then they get up and pick songs that are like 55-minute songs. And it's like, why can't you guys pick like an infomercial song where it's like 30 seconds and we're out? So that On the Wings of Love is probably my karaoke song, and probably only 2 people have ever heard me sing it, because after that I'm like, not going to be doing it, guys. Sorry.
He is DENIM Richards. You can see him portraying the role of Colby. Again, episode 5 of Yellowstone is set to debut this Sunday, July the 19th. The reason for Beth and Jamie's toxic relationship is revealed. The episode is called Cowboys and Dreamers, airing this Sunday on Paramount. Yellowstone, episode 5. Check your local listings for start time. DENIM Richards, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today, brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.